champions, take the field now. Unify us, make us feel proud. In the streets our heads are lifting as we lose our inhibition. Celebration, it surrounds us. Every nation, all around us, singing forever young, singing songs underneath the sun.
In golf, there are many techniques in one shot. The golfer must choose the best technique to perform in their shot. Each shot in golf will affect to their performance. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My group will discuss about chip and run in different technique.
In golf swing, muscle that important to help generate force is first is core. Core muscle involve rotation from the flexibility standpoint for strength. Second is hamstring. Hamstring help to maintain golf posture. During golf posture at preparatory stage, bend at the hips, feel a lot of tension at that muscle. To generate force, hamstring need to strengthen and stretch to be stay on posture. Lastly is glute. In golf posture and do the semi-squat position, glutes are firing as well to give a stable base in golf swing.
There are three main joints stressed when executing the golf swing: the wrist, elbow, and the shoulder. The knees and hip joints are also used but not as important. Power is gained from them. Injuries do not usually occur in the lower extremity in golf. Another area that is extremely important is the trunk. All of these joints work together to execute the golf swing, and the golf swing is a full body movement. Elbow joint. The elbow is a hinge joint, so although it cannot move side to side, its stability is key to golf. The right elbow will be bent throughout the stroke. It will conform to the movement of the left elbow and may be slightly more bent or straighter at different times. The left elbow, however, will be kept straight throughout the golf swing until the follow-through, when it will bend as the club turns around the body. The golf swing acts as a third-class lever whereby the joint represents the fulcrum and the force is produced by the movement of the arm, and resistance is the club head in order to produce maximum velocity upon impact. It is essential to gain the greatest length of the lever arm to do this. The force being generated must be as far away from the axis of rotation as possible. Therefore, the arms must be extended out during the downswing as it brings force produced further away from the shoulder joints. This ultimately increases the production of torque, which generates a greater amount of force upon impact of the ball.
Analysis of golf movement may be neither quantitative or qualitative. The word quantitative involving the use of number, and qualitative refers to a description of quality without the use of number. Example in golf for quantitative analysis is Tiger Woods drive 300 meters, or can be count on body angle and movement during golf swing. Qualitative analysis requires knowledge of the specific biomechanical purpose of the movement and the ability to detect the causes of error, such as nice shot or in the hole. For the anatomical reference plan, in golf involve transverse plane and sagittal plane. During preparatory stage, the movement of shoulder, which is hyperextension, occur at sagittal plane around mediolateral axis. During follow-through, the movement of trunk is external rotation occur at transverse plane around longitudinal axis. Preparatory stage where the wrists are supination, elbow wheel extension and the shoulder hyperextension. Executive stage and follow-through, the wrist wheel pronation, elbow wheel flexion, the shoulder flexion and the trunk wheel external rotation.
Golf is a rotational athletic endeavor requiring body to balance an accelerated rotational force to transfer the energy with the golf club to the ball at the absolute right time. In equilibrium means a motionless state with no net force or torque acting to the object. Equilibrium in golf is when addressing a golf ball. If any out of balance movement will detect an unstable equilibrium because it will respond to slow movement when downswing in a golf. There are different techniques in chip and run. The first technique is the ball are in the center of the stance. For the second technique is the ball in the right of the stand. There are a few factors that will influence body stability in golf. First, the size of the base of support. In general, increasing the size of base of support will increase stability. In the first technique, the golfer used more base of support compared to the second technique because of the position of the ball. The second one is a body mass. Simply stated, heavier bodies are harder to move and hence are more stable. And lastly, the height of the center of the gravity above the base of support. When you squat down, your stability will increase. In technique 1 and technique 2, the golfer need to bend a little bit lower to make a stable backswing. The angle of golf club between the ball in technique 1 is 88. Meanwhile, in technique 2 is 78. In technique 2, the acceleration and velocity are higher than technique 1. But the force in technique 1 are higher than technique 2. This is because the angle of the technique 2 are less than technique 1 that will produce less force and higher acceleration. The projectile in technique 1 is 41. Meanwhile, in technique 2 is 18.
There are three laws of motion, which is first Newton's law, inertia, second Newton's law, acceleration, and third Newton's law, action-reaction. So, how does these three kinds of Newton's law related with golf? First, Newton's law, inertia. A body will maintain a state of rest or constant velocity unless acted on by an external force that changes the state. So, in golf, this kind of Newton's law occurs when the golf ball maintain state of rest or constant velocity unless it act by an external force such as hit by the club head or hit by the tree. Second, Newton's law, acceleration. Newton's second law of motion is an expression of the interrelationship among force, mass and acceleration may be stated as follows for a body with constant mass. Force is equal to mass times acceleration. Force is proportionally with the acceleration. If force increase, the acceleration also increase, but it different with the interrelation with the mass. So, force is inverse proportionally with mass. If the mass increase, the force and the acceleration decrease. So, the golf ball mass usually have a constant value. So, force of hand when hit the ball is affect the acceleration of the ball. So, when the force of hand when hit the ball increase, the acceleration will also increase. Third Newton law, action-reaction. When one body exerts a force on a second, the second body exerts a reaction force that is equal in magnitude and opposite in direction on the first body. The forces are equal and opposite, not the effect of the force. In golf, force from club head is equal with force from the golf ball from the opposite direction. For example, 8,000 newtons from the club head, same with the 8,000 newton from the golf ball from opposite direction. For our presentation, we have compared two different techniques in chip and run, which is this technique will apply outside the green area. We have compared the velocity, acceleration, force and momentum between these two different techniques. We not calculate the impulse because the value of impulse is same like momentum. Now you can see the difference of these two techniques. Velocity and acceleration of technique 2 has greater value compared to technique 1. It is because the displacement and the time of technique 2 is less. So, the technique 2 has better velocity and acceleration compared to technique 1. For force and momentum, technique 2 has less value compared to technique 1. It is because the influence of mass of club and the acceleration of swing. For the discussion, we have found that technique 2 is better compared to technique 1. It is because technique 2 has more velocity and acceleration, but it uses less force. To gain maximum momentum in golf, the force need to be generated by using as many segments of the body as possible, especially upper body and lower body. Movement must be in the correct sequence using the large muscle first followed by smaller muscle. For example, deltoid to bicep to brachioradialis. Movement also must achieve correct timing, such as the timing of the club head contact to the golf ball. Movement must be through the greatest range of motion. For example, the increasing the rotation of shoulder.